viewers, and welcome to a bit more Project Cars, this time in the Ginetta, not the junior one, the big one for older people. It's the Ginetta around Road America. It's running the default field of view. This was recorded a few weeks ago before the field of views were adjusted on these games, but either way, just taking it for a spin. I can't really remember the handling now actually. I recorded this at a time when I was recording a wide bunch of videos, but just went for a drive, and as I enjoy this circuit anyway, it was just nice to go for a spin and just enjoy it. Nice audio, all in development at the moment. I've since improved the graphic settings slightly as well since this was recorded. There's always little things you can turn on and turn off. You know, you basically turn everything off and then realise that some things you can turn on without much impact on frame rate. Because I go a bit wide there. First time you hit the brakes. This was the first time driving this car. Again, no practice. I just thought, well, let's just jump in and go for a spin. I noticed on my video yesterday somebody said about best driving I've seen from you in a while yesterday on the Assetto Corsa, and that really is just down to the fact that I'd done a few laps before recording on the camera, and often I don't. I just jump in, and I jump in because a lot of people watching these videos are not expert racers, they're beginners, and they'll go off at the same place and they need to learn where to brake. And I think if you just do perfect laps all the time, it can become, honestly, it can become a bit dull for some people. And so I like to make it fun for those who understand their racing, but also for those who are learning, getting into it. Not everyone is an uber alien racing driver like those top 1% online. And a lot of you watching this probably are in that top 1%. So coming near to the end of the first lap now, gradually getting the hang of the brakes. So that's pretty comfortable for me. Our field of view varies, the default field of view in each car. It's quite low in this car. So we have that replay. Replays look okay. Obviously you see the LOD change in the car at the moment on the replays. Now again, it's in development. I keep stressing that, you know, lots can change in many different areas when it's all fine-tuned and put together. It's already looking very nice. I've seen people questioning the PS4 screenshots, and you know, let's face it, it will be one of the top 3 best looking racing games ever made in the history of gaming. You know, that's it. That's the stat. You know, how it compares to Forza 5 and Drive Club, we'll wait and see. The only competition is Drive Club, and that runs at 30 frames per second. And though it will look lovely, for me 30 frames just doesn't do it for me in terms of racing. But there's 2 types of 30 frames. There's locked, you know, it depends. I mean, there's 30 frames that are very smooth. I've seen games run at 30 frames and I say, well, it's more like 25 frames. So as long as it's always consistently over 30, I'm sure it'll be very playable. But I'll talk about that on another video near the time, you know, because having played it at Gamescom last year, obviously it was very underwhelming, and that's why they held it back. So no doubt it will be looking better. Project Cars, I've no doubt, once it hits its 1080p, 60 frames, looks fantastic. I'm sure everyone's going to be impressed when they see it in motion. And that's kind of what this whole project's been about, really. It's been about, you know, YouTube doesn't showcase frame rate. I can put a game on here running. I've run games on this channel at 17 frames per second. My original Cars videos were running at 17 frames per second, and nobody could tell. You could tell it was a little bit jerky, but you know, you couldn't see what I was having to contend with in terms of how difficult it was for me to drive. And people were analysing the driving, and you're thinking, well, I'm barely running at 20. I did my iRacing at 20 frames per second, 22 frames per second. I did all my iRacing races and won a race. So it's a lot more difficult than it looks, and YouTube makes things look better than they really are. But when you see 60 frames 1080p in motion, you know, you can clearly see the difference in terms of polish. And at the moment, graphics being as they are on Project Cars, I don't think there's anything for anyone to moan about. I think it's going to look pretty good. So all around, coming along well. I'm looking forward to E3. I'm looking forward to seeing what Project Cars is going to look like on the PS4. I'm a little bit concerned about what it's going to look like on the Morpheus. I hear these stories of lots of graphical aspects being turned off from publishers, you know, behind the scenes, and you know that it's more like closer to visually to a PS3 game than a PS4 game once you get it running on Morpheus, just to keep the frame rate up where it needs to be. It's going to be interesting seeing how console VR works. Certainly the PC version, no, that's what you'll be looking at, and it's going to look fab. I'll be waiting for the consumer version, or at least I intend to, of Oculus Rift at the moment. As much as I want to play on it really badly and see the new version, I know that it's just money down the toilet if you know, down the drain if you buy one now, because in a year from now you're spending hundreds of pounds, hours and hours, and I've got this nice big triple screen which I'm quite satisfied with, and it works perfectly for you, the viewers, to see the games in motion. As the time of day changes again, that glorious time of day, as we see wreckage there on the replay. Glorious time of day change. So I come around this long corner, trying to keep it smooth with the throttle, and then putting your foot down as it opens up for you. There's a nice camber there, spits you out on the corner, and then you have this wonderful high-speed corner that you just like to throw the car into, use all the circuit on the outside. Really works well in some of the super high-speed cars as we come around the final few corners. And so that's it, just a quick look at Project Cars today. There'll be more of these videos, more Assetto Corsa to come, and iRacing, it is coming. It's just finding the time for it, because we are against the clock when it comes to getting a video out every day. So often, sometimes it doesn't always happen, and you'll end up with a bit more of something else. And so MXGP, I'm going to get back on that as well. I was enjoying my time on it, would like to run a bit more. So a bit more MXGP action. But that's it for this Project Cars video, and there'll be more from me very soon.